Hey there! So today we're going to go over some listening exercises, and if you can have a pencil and paper with you, that would be wonderful. So go ahead and pause the video if you don't have one yet, but I'll assume that you've got one now. Alright, so we're going to cover some sounds that you probably are familiar with, and then we're going to take that information and analyze it a little bit and do some fun exercises. So we're going to base all of this off of these chords. So you're probably very familiar with all of those. That was the C major cadence. And we use Roman numerals to talk about the different chords from that cadence. So the first Roman numeral we use is 1 for the first chord, then 4, then back to 1, then 5, 7, and then 1. So the first thing that I want you to do is just listen to some of these. I'm going to play them individually and not part of the grouping or the chord progression or cadence, and see if you can identify which ones they are all by themselves. So here's the first one. Same again. And the same one more time. So that one is the 1 chord, or C major. Alright, here's another one to listen to. Okay, so that one was the 5-7 chord. And here's another. That was the 4 chord. So we had 1, we had 5-7, and then we had 4. Now that's a very different progression. Normally we don't play them in that order, so it sounds a little bit funny when I play them that way, at least quickly. And so it's okay that they sound strange when you hear them in that order. In fact, they probably should sound strange, because normally we hear 4 going to either 1, or we hear 4 going to 5-7. So there are different cadences that we can play. We can play the one that we started with, which is like a full cadence. The 1, 4, 1, 5, 7, 1. Okay, and then there are a few other types of cadences that I think you're familiar with. And one of them is called the half cadence. And the half cadence goes from, typically it's 1 to 5. So it sounds like this, or 5-7. So that was 1 to 5-7. Another one is the plagal cadence, which is 4 to 1. A lot of people call that the Amen cadence, because that's what a lot of hymns end with, those couple of chords, 4 and then 1. So again, that's the plagal cadence. Okay, and the authentic cadence is the last one, and probably the most commonly heard in your pieces, and that's 5-7 to 1. It's easy to confuse the authentic cadence and the half cadence because they both involve 1 and 5. It's a matter of the order that you play those in. So the half cadence goes from 1 to 5, 7, and the authentic cadence goes from 5-7 to 1. So there involve the same chords. It's just a matter of what order you play those chords in. Okay, so I'm going to play a few cadences, and I want you to try to decide which ones I'm playing just by listening to them, okay? So if you can jot your answers down, that would be wonderful. Here's the first one, and I'm going to play it 3 times, so you can listen 3 times, and if you need to back up the video and listen again, you can certainly do that. All right, here's the first one. And you should write down the name of the cadence and also the Roman numerals that go with the cadence name. So here it is again. And one more time. Okay, here's the next one. And one more time. All right, we're going to go on to one more, and here it is. Again. And one more time. Okay, so hoping you wrote down the name of the cadence as well as the Roman numeral to go along with them. And if you need a reminder about what the Roman numerals are, the 1 is the capital I, 4 is I and then V with a line on the bottom and the top, or the top and the bottom. And then the 5 or 5-7, well, let's talk about 5 first. 5 is the V with the cap and the bottom with a little 7 up next to the right of it. Now, it's really important that you put the cap on the top and the bottom, because if you do not, that refers to a minor chord. So with the cap, it's a major chord. Without the cap, it's a minor chord. So they mean very different things. So for example, say if you wrote 5 and then, let's do 4 and then 1. If you wrote those without the top and the bottom, they would actually mean this. Instead of, so it's a really different sound. So the top and the bottom really do make a big difference. So make sure you do write those in. Seems like a little detail, but very important. Okay, so now we're going to do like a chain of them. I'm gonna play several of them, probably like 4 or 5 chords in order. And I want you to see if you can decide what chords I'm playing just by listening. We'll do a couple of rounds of this. So here is the first round. So, I should mention for this one, just write the Roman numeral, because they're not cadences, they're just a long string of chords. So there's no cadence name for these. So just write the Roman numeral in. Okay, here we are. Here it is again. back the video up if you need to and write down those answers and get ready for another one. Okay, so here we are at the next round of these. Again, just write down the Roman numeral that you hear. Here it is again. And here it is one last time. All right, can review that if necessary, and then we will do one more. And we're actually going to make it a little bit more challenging by moving it to a different key. And so since I'm going to play it in a different key, no longer in C major, I'm going to establish the key by playing a scale and a triad in that new key. So if you're curious, we're moving to G major, and it sounds like this. Chord progression. One more time, well, two more times. Here it is again. And one more time. Okay, so hopefully you've got all of that written down. You can listen as many times as you need to, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks!